So, let me tell you about the week I found out just how far people will go when land, power, and pride collide, and how my quiet little life turned into something out of a political thriller with boots, bullets, and betrayal. It started on a Thursday, the kind of day where the breeze is soft and the coffee stays warm just long enough to make you believe the world is good. I was on my porch in Fox Ridge Valley. Yes, that sleepy farming community no one can point to on a map, when three men walked up like they owned the place. No knocking, no introductions, just matching dark uniforms, blank badges, tactical boots, and clipboards held like shields. The tall one tapped my screen door with his pen. "You the property holder for parcel 32B? I blinked. "Is that code for my house?" He didn't smile. None of them did. They called themselves officers from the Rural Zoning Integration Council, which sounded like a fake charity crossed with a bad government prank. But their posture? That was real. That was calculated. Then came the violations. Illegal land fencing, unauthorized water routing, obstruction of potential public access. Say what now? I told them, politely at first, that this land had been in my family since the 1920s, long before any HOA nonsense. But then the tall one leaned in and said something that made my skin crawl. "We know your husband's not home. Overseas deployment, correct?" That was it. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I'd pass out. But I didn't back away. I just looked him straight in the eye and said, "You sure you want to finish that sentence?" He backed off, smirking. "30 days to vacate the southern field, ma'am. Voluntarily, or we escalate." They left an envelope on the step and walked back to a black SUV with no plates, no logos, just tinted windows, and a gut feeling that something was very wrong. I didn't cry. I sat on my kitchen floor and stared at the wall, remembering the day the bank took our first farm when I was a kid. The same kind of suits, the same fake authority, the same silence that follows when you realize no one's coming to help. I called the sheriff. He sighed like I'd just reminded him it was Monday. "Yeah," he said. "They've been making rounds. It's legal-ish. They're using emergency rezoning laws tied to a loophole in the state charter, designed for environmental disaster zones. Now it's being exploited by the Fox Ridge HOA. The HOA, except this wasn't your average suburban turf war. See, Fox Ridge HOA had recently changed hands. Their new president? A woman named Madeline York. She didn't live in our county, didn't own a home here, but she did own a development firm out of state and had been quietly snapping up land through a web of shell companies. Their strategy? Use scare tactics and fake compliance orders to force owners into surrendering their property voluntarily. If you didn't, well, things got messy. And then came the flags. Pink and orange stakes appeared overnight across our southern field. Pending public use labels from the so-called zoning council. That's when I knew. They weren't bluffing. They were staging. So I made the call. One text, "I need you home." That night, while washing a casserole dish I hadn't used in weeks, the front door creaked open. No warning, no headlights, just mud on boots and a shadow crossing the threshold. It was Mason, my husband, back from deployment without a word, moving like a recon soldier on home turf. He didn't hug me, didn't speak. Just grabbed his rifle from the closet, checked the chamber, laid it on the kitchen table and said, "Talk." I told him everything. The fake zoning cops, the envelope, the threats, the silence from law enforcement. He flipped through the documents with a soldier's eye, muttering, "This isn't enforcement. It's theater." And that's when it stopped being a home issue and became a war plan. Enter Todd, our neighbor, conspiracy theorist, drone hobbyist, tactical sandals and a GoPro strapped to his head like he was storming Area 51. "I've got footage," he said proudly. "Caught them trespassing at 2:38 a.m. One was planting something by your barn." Mason watched the footage like he was reading enemy troop movements. "They're testing response time, seeing if you'll panic or fight." "I asked what happens if I panic." He said, "They take everything. I didn't sleep that night." At dawn, I found a rabbit, skinned, blood fresh, nailed to our gate. A plastic stake in the dirt read, "Leave or more will die." This wasn't just intimidation, it was escalation. Then came the fire. The barn, my grandfather's barn, lit up at 3 a.m. No warning, no sirens, just flames curling through the night sky like a nightmare. I ran barefoot through gravel, trying to reach the animals inside. But Mason tackled me before I could, yelling, "You'll die in there!" He was right. A propane tank exploded seconds later, sending a shockwave across the field. The fire crew showed up late. One of the old-timers muttered, "Second barn in 2 weeks. Same HOA claims." And that's when I snapped. We turned our house into a command post. Mason mapped the land. Todd rewired the fence with hidden cameras and motion sensors. I posted a fake online listing for the southern acreage, made it look like a desperate seller had surrendered under zoning pressure. Bait. They bit. A response came fast, from a front company tied to Madeline's firm. We knew they were coming. 3 days later, they did. Paige Landon, VP of Rural Renewal Partners, strutted onto our property with a clipboard and confidence. Mason stepped out of the woods like a ghost. "You're trespassing," he said. She tried to smile. "We were told this parcel was unclaimed." "By who?" I asked, stepping beside Mason. One of her guys cracked, dropped his scanner. "I didn't sign up for this. They said it was legal. I didn't know about the fire." He walked, just turned and left. Paige stiffened. We hit her with everything. Surveillance footage, falsified documents, forged signatures traced to her office. Todd's drone fed it all to a live stream, even posted it on Reddit. Yeah, we were those people now, and for once, she didn't have a smirk. She just left. We thought it was over. It wasn't. The next day, a box appeared on our porch. Inside, a photo. Me, Mason, and Todd standing at the gate, smiling. Taken from the tree line. On the back, in red ink. "Next time, we don't knock." Alongside it, a blank key. "That's not a threat. That's a message. You're part of this now." Weeks passed. Quiet. No new threats. No flags. But then, just as the wheat turned golden, I found it. A new stake. Orange. Clean. Not one of ours. And I didn't scream. Didn't cry. I just stood there, wind in my hair, boots in the dirt, and thought, they still know where we live. So I walked back to the porch, past the ruins, past the sunflowers I never liked but planted anyway. Took off my boots, but didn't put them away. Because the thing about land is, it remembers, and so do we.